America is famous for its wealth, but we have pockets of intense poverty in this country that most people don't know about, like the remote reservations where Native Americans or Indians struggle to survive. Mark Martin traveled to South Dakota for a look at the efforts to bring hope to America's forgotten people.
The Crow Creek Sioux Reservation. This barbed wire cutting across the open landscape is a symbol of a people continually dealing with invaders. In centuries past, American Indians faced the invasion of other cultures, forced removal from fertile lands, and broken treaties. Isolation still exists, and tribes today also battle destructive forces like poverty, substance abuse, and suicide to a greater degree than most other Americans.
I thought I was all alone and everything like that, and I tried committing suicide, and the person that found me was my oldest daughter.
Addicted to drugs and alcohol, Norm Thompson blamed life on the reservation without proper guidance for that desperate situation. Tragically, his story is all too common. According to the Indian Health Service, the suicide rate for Native Americans is 60% higher than the rate for the general population. Here on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation alone, the suicide rate was at one time 7 times the national rate.
I had a rough time at first.
Like Norm, Sandy Gabe was an alcoholic. He says substance abuse is a big problem, with many Native Americans using their government assistance checks to feed habits instead of their families.
First thing they do is it's drugs and alcohol, and later on, maybe some groceries, maybe they feed the kids or something, you know. Their priorities are all wrong.
Tell me what you've encountered, what you've seen.
Weed, chewing, drinking, meth.
So what's behind all this despair? Experts say there are many factors, such as the historical mistreatment of Native Americans, including forced cultural changes, living conditions like you'd find in third world countries. Many homes lack indoor plumbing and electricity, and the U.S. Census Bureau reports about 1 of every 4 American Indians lives below the poverty level. This is one example of the living conditions on the reservation. You can see the poor condition of the home behind me, the broken glass, the makeshift plywood entryway, and the ground is littered with beer cans and trash. The Crow Creek Sioux Reservation lies in Buffalo County. Its per capita income of just a little more than $5,000 a year makes it the poorest county in the country. On some reservations, unemployment runs as high as 80%. Compare that to less than 5% for the U.S. as a whole.
The children, you know, and adults all try to cope with what they have. It is hard out here because a lot of them don't have the heat for their houses or the wood for their stoves.
So how could this happen to a people so revered in our history for their courage and self-sufficiency? Many say this tragedy is man-made, the result of a welfare state spiraling out of control, where self-respect, hard work, and hope have been replaced with handouts.
To me, it's a train wreck. You know, when you have a reliance on a federal government with a shrinking deficit, you know, for your health care, for your housing, for everything, and you really don't have much of a political voice. So, you know, when there's cuts, the cuts seem to be deeper here. And so it's a real critical situation.
Rod Vaughn founded the Christian nonprofit organization Willow Ministries to reach out to Native Americans on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation. He says people living here feel like the U.S. government has forgotten them.
They do. I mean, and maybe not even so much forgotten, but that they've just been able to kind of push them off to the side.
Still, in spite of the exclusion, American Indians are intensely loyal. Since 9/11, a record number have enlisted in the Army every year. In the entire U.S. military, they have served at higher rates than any other ethnic group.
It's kind of like a warrior culture that's passed down to generations.
But sadly, Native Americans appear to be losing the battle at home.
Father, we just ask your blessing on each family that's here tonight, Father.
Willow Ministries works to change that by meeting physical needs like food and clothing and helping to break addictions, including the dependence on welfare, by sharing the love of Jesus Christ.
Pray that the barriers, the generational sin, the darkness can be broken. Prayer is so powerful.
Oh, all they have to do is reach out their hand like I did, and God took my hand and gave me something, and I'm glad of that.
The gift of a new life in Christ. A gift that can heal a shattered people and cause them to soar with hope. Mark Martin, CBN News on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation in South Dakota.
Thanks, Mark. The treatment of those people is an absolute disgrace. But, Terry, that is an example of your life run by the federal government. Yeah. That's what it is. That is the ultimate welfare state.
But that it should be allowed to go on in our country today. It's ridiculous. It's
absolutely disgraceful. But in years gone by, the people really wanted to kill them. They wanted to kill as many Indians as they could. And that was the ethos. The drunk Indians, let's kill them. And it was a terrible thing. And these are wonderful people. We crowded them into those reservations, and then instead of taking care of them, we've allowed them to languish. It is an absolute disgrace. And we're not talking about a lot of money. It wouldn't cost much, but something needs to be done to give those people work, to give them jobs. I mean, it just makes no sense.
Well, and the church is really the right group of people to come in to offer healing from the past and a breaking of generational issues. You know, I mean, we have the answer to that.
We do have the answer, and many of them are finding it, for which we're grateful. But anyhow, that's something that this nation needs to do, and all of us as individuals. We can help people, and it's not that hard. Terry?
Well, up next.